Yeah, hey, drop.
Prime Coverage Sports Network. Real coverage, real conversation.
What is going on, everybody? Yes, I'm sorry I was not here with you guys last Friday, but this is Andrew, Mighty Man Scheid, here for the Prime Coverage Sports Network Sports Mayhem morning show here on this lovely Friday morning. And with me, as it has been for the past few weeks now, is the sports guy Marcus Mack joining me this morning to get a little crazy talking about sports. And again, I'm sorry we were not here last week. It was the NFL draft. And that week it was kind of crazy for the both of us.
Yeah, it was a lot to cover. It was a lot to do. Hey, I just appreciate joining you, Andrew. You know, anytime I can sit with my brother and talk some sports. And hey, what a better way to talk about all the national sports news here on Prime Cover Sports Network than with the Andrew Mighty Man Scheid on Sports Mayhem. Let's go.
All right. So the first thing, obviously, because we've already been hinting at it, the NFL draft was this past weekend. You and I were on the first draft night Thursday night for a local radio station, and had a lot of fun doing that. That first round of the draft, I have to admit, I was sitting there with all my buddies. I was looking at the computer, and I have a lot of head scratching in that first round. And I think the biggest question I want to ask you, and I think I could spend the whole segment on this one question, but why would the LA Rams take Ty Simpson, a quarterback, in the first round when you already have an MVP quarterback in Matthew Stafford? Now, I get Matthew Stafford is an older gentleman. He's no longer a young buck, but he's still got maybe 4 or 5 years of longevity left in him. I don't think, me personally, I don't think this was the time for the Rams to go out and get a quarterback. Even if they wanted him to learn under Stafford, they could have done that 2 years out or 3 years out. I think this is a little early, so I'm trying to piece that one together. I have no clue what is going on down there in Los Angeles, what they were thinking, what is going. I don't know.
You know, Andrew, yes. Shout out to Fox Sports WRMN 1410 AM. Me and you were able to be a part of the draft coverage for the radio station. And I also got a chance to hear you joining Derek Geyer and Big Top Sports, also on Fox Sports WRMN 1410 AM. And you guys interviewed Chrissy Freud, NFL insider. And I was able to listen to that interview. And I'll tell you what, Chrissy, I felt like answered this when you guys asked Chrissy one of her biggest shocks of the draft was she said that this is definitely one of the biggest head scratchers. And so I have to kind of piggyback a lot of what she said in that interview is that, you know, clearly Matthew Stafford is not done playing football. He easily has another, I mean, let's just, for modest sake, 2 years left, 3, in my opinion, but 2 years for sure. And you draft a quarterback in the first round, which means now that kid has 5 years on contract. You usually have to worry about extending him by year 3, definitely year 4, if you want to pick up the 5th-year option. What if Matthew Stafford's still playing 4 years from now and still playing at a high level? So you didn't draft him any. You could have gave him weapons in the first round, considering the team was in the NFC Championship, and instead of giving Matthew Stafford some weapons or adding on the defensive side of the football, which is never a bad idea, you chose to draft his replacement. Definitely his backup. I mean, definitely his backup for sure.
Yeah.
But I mean, why else would you draft this dude in the first round if you're not drafting him to be, or your idea as an organization is that this guy is the replacement for Matt Stafford? And I just think that that's a little, whatever they're seeing. And shout out to Chrissy for it again. Like she said, I think that there's going to be better quarterbacks that come out next year. I think that there's been better quarterbacks that have come out in previous drafts. And so if you're going to go and make a reach for a guy like this in the first round, when you still have a quarterback that's playing at a high level, yeah, it to me is a very risky move and a definite head scratcher.
Right. And probably the last question I'll ask you relating to this is Ty Simpson the quality of a round one quarterback? I think is my biggest question with that is, was he good enough to go in the first round?
I mean, well, I'm looking here. His overall rank was 37. He had a grade of 85. So when you're picked 13 and your overall is 37, that means that you're outside of the top 32 teams in the NFL. So, I mean, yeah, I think it was a big reach. Now, was he the second best quarterback in the draft? Yes. So, two things can be true. Was he drafted too early at 13? I think so. Was he worthy of a first round draft pick? Well, considering that after Fernando Mendoza was selected, Ty Simpson was then at that point the next most highest graded quarterback. So whatever team was going to be looking for a quarterback at that point would have grabbed him if the Rams had not. And so I think that he still would have went late first round. Second round without a doubt. So did he deserve to be picked in the first round? Yes, but definitely late first round. There was no reason that like I say, the Rams, you were just in a conference championship. If I'm running the LA Rams, I draft either the very guy that the Ravens drafted, the offensive guard out of Penn State, or I would have grabbed Reuben Bain from Miami. I could have even seen them grabbing the tight end Kenyon Sadiq from Oregon. They wouldn't have done bad by grabbing Caleb Banks, Blake Miller, any of these guys. To me, Mekhi Lemon from UFC.
Right? Yeah.
I mean, how would any of those draft picks have hurt the LA Rams? I mean, if anything, you're just giving weapons to both sides of a football team that has shown that they are at an elite level at this current moment. And so, yeah, no, me personally, like I said, big head scratcher. I don't agree with it, but answering your question once again, I do think he deserved to be in the first round, just very late.
Okay. Now, one thing we were not shocked at was, glory be Fernando Mendoza went first and he went to the Las Vegas Raiders. Now, I do want to play. I have a little highlight reel I put together of Fernando Mendoza at University of Indiana, so we can watch that. And then we can just talk about what he could bring to Las Vegas, because let's not forget, he's going to not only be studying under a quarterback who has some time under him, and he's also going to have an owner in Tom Brady, who is very not too far removed from playing in this league, that could show him a lot. So let's take a look at these highlights from his college playing, and let's talk about, will this translate at the professional level?
Out of the shotgun. Mendoza's pass is caught. This time EJ for the payday.
Again, he's got some time to throw. He takes and goes. Fernando Mendoza on first and goal. Fade route. Pass caught. Jonathan Brady.
Mendoza looks, steps into one, end zone, touchdown.
You know what? And that was just a little, welcome back everyone. That was just a little 30-second highlight clip I put together. The one thing I'm seeing that Fernando Mendoza, Marcus, does great at both levels, he can pass the ball, but he can also run. We saw it in that highlight clip there, him running, for a touchdown. So could he be another quarterback we see both using his arms and his legs?
Oh, without a doubt. I mean, he's 6'4", 236 pounds, and this is after his measurables at the combine. So he's a legit 6'4", 236 pounds. That's a big size man. So yeah, he's mobile. So his legs, will he be able to utilize his legs in the NFL? Without a doubt. Now, that being said, I don't expect him to run the ball as much as he did as college. The NFL is a lot more gruesome.
Right.
These
Yes.
defenders are bigger, faster, and much stronger, and you don't want your quarterback absorbing punishment in the open field. But it is nice that he has a willingness to do that. He's got that toughness, and he's got the body size to be able to absorb some punishment. So I do think that his legs will play a role in some moments, definitely inside the red zone. I think that that's where he could really be dangerous, especially with his long frame, being able to go and stretch over the line and make plays in space. So yeah, his legs will definitely play a key part in that element. I like I said, I don't see it as much like they did in college, where there was a lot of quarterback options running, but inside the 20, inside the red zone, yeah, I definitely think that's where his legs and his large body frame could become a real problem, especially if he's accurate and his arm talent is able to translate to the NFL from what we saw in college.
Yeah, and here's the thing, and we saw it in that highlight, and I want to ask you about his arm. Now, and I'm not saying that he's at a Tom Brady level, but Fernando Mendoza does have a good arm. And we saw it in that highlight reel. So I'm going to throw a weird question out to you, Marcus. How many yards do you see him passing for in his rookie season?
Well, he's got excellent weapon at tight end with Brock Bowers. And then now you go to Ashton Genty as well on the team, who can make you plays from the backfield. So therefore, safeties are going to play up. They're not going to be able to lag back if they want to be able to slow Genty down. Is definitely that changed the situation, as opposed to you pulling your safeties back deep and daring a quarterback to beat you with his arm. Well, I'm sorry. As opposed to boxing quarterback in. I mean, where now you're gonna be in a situation where you're daring the quarterback to beat you with his arm when the safeties are coming up. And I think that Mendoza has the arm talent to be able to do that. And so now it's really going to come down to the offensive line that the Raiders have built for him. Every quarterback needs protection, especially a young quarterback. And so I don't know if the Raiders have enough yet on the line for him to be a 4,000-yard passer. But I think without a doubt he could pass for 3,000 yards, just because of the fact that he has Genty in the lineup that is going to command a lot of attention. You do have Brock Bowers on this team, who that means you have a bona fide target to throw to. That's a real problem and a mismatch nightmare for defenses. So he's got some elements out there to really make a difference. I mean, it's still a little bit bland on the receiver side. I'm looking at their roster for receivers, and they don't have a dominant, what you quote unquote number one receiver from what I see on this roster. Now maybe somebody does emerge, but like the best guy that they drafted Malik Benson. He's a rookie. They got Philip Dorsett, who's a 9-year vet. We know he's not a Pro Bowl player. Jalen Naylor, same there. Brendan Rice. So maybe somebody elevates with Mendoza, but I don't see enough on the outside at receiver to where he's going to be a 4,000-yard passer in his rookie year. But I think that with Brock Bowers and with Ashton Genty on this roster, I definitely think he has a legitimate shot to pass for 3,000 yards.
Right. And that's the one thing. I see Fernando Mendoza having a very decent rookie season. he is going to have to take some time to get acclimated. He's not going to come out there throwing dimes on week 1. And I think Raiders fans need to get prepared for that in particular. You got your man. Now you need to give him time to develop and not be, on his butt all the time because he's not throwing 6 touchdowns or 3 touchdowns week 1.
Mm-hmm.
And that's the thing. And I want to ask you, because this is a team, and I'm going to try and keep this short, being a Chicago fan that I am. The Bears did some things that people were not expecting in this draft. And I think, they were expecting them to go to defensive on the first round, which they did. They took Dylan Thielman, a safety out of Oregon, which is honestly, I'm going to give you this. Thielman is 6 feet and 205 pounds for a safety. And this is coming from someone who's played the position. That is a big safety. That is a big safety. That's someone I would love to have in my backfield as a teammate defensively. And I think that was a good pick going off. Now, I think the only one who really got Bears fans scratching their heads was the tight end.
Yeah,
and
Sam Roche.
Yes. And I'm going to give my feelings first. It had me head scratching for a bit until I did some research and found out that Durham Smythe is no longer with the Chicago Bears. So you you still have your 3 tight ends. I think your 3 tight ends going into next season for the Chicago Bears are going to be Colston Loveland, Cole Kmet, and Sam Roush. Those are going to be your 3. Colston Loveland, without a doubt, is going to be number 1.
I just think that sometimes NFL teams reach, and when they swear that they're not. And I think that what we saw is a classic example of the Bears reaching a position that you value on your team and you see it as a position need. But I just don't think that it garnered a 3rd round pick. This is the first time that the Chicago Bears have done such a thing. They drafted Torrey Taylor with the 4th round pick for a punter a few years back, and that still hasn't paid out. Maybe this year he turns into one of the elite punters in the NFL. But I think whenever you allocate any of your resources to the first 4 rounds in the draft to any position, I think that position needs to be something that's going to pay key dividends for you. And I just think that if they were looking for a 3rd string tight end, that they could have found that in the 5th or even 6th round. And I would have preferred that they drafted the defensive tackle, if that's because they obviously addressed the line position. They still addressed it at 6 in the 6th round. So if you still thought that it was a need to address, I just would have rather flipped that. I'd have rather you had drafted a 3rd string tight end in the 6th, 5th, or even 4th round, as opposed to drafting him in the 3rd. Now, if this guy turns out to be, so top level tight end is just gonna, make big key plays with the Bears, then I'll eat my words. And I'm okay with that. But I'm also the same guy that recognized when they drafted Velus Jones. I thought that was a mistake pick. I felt like when they, like I said, Torrey Taylor in the 4th round was a mistake pick. And I think that this pick with Sam Roche is a mistake pick, regardless of if you had a fit for a 3rd string tight end. I think that the round you drafted him in didn't justify the fact that you had a massive need at that defensive line. You need to find animals. You need to find the best players possible, somebody that can really make plays. And I don't know if Jordan Vandenberg is going to be, now if hey, Tom Brady came out of the 6th round, so we can never say what's, and guess what Cal Monungai, Mighty Monungai, who was drafted by the Bears in the 7th round last year, when everybody was screaming that the Bears needed to draft a running back, and then they finally did. Mighty Monungai turned out to be quite good. So, before I go dumping on Jordan Vandenberg, hey, at least they did address it. Like I said, just my preference would have been that be flip-flop. you had drafted a defensive tackle in the 3rd round, a defensive end, and you could have drafted a tight end in the 6th or 5th round, and I would have been okay with that. But hey, when the season starts is when we could truly grade any of these drafts from any of these teams. Draft grades have been given out, which I always find funny, because I don't know how you could really draft a team or their draft picks when the guys haven't even played. We don't know who's going to be healthy for the season. Attrition always plays a big part in all of these things. So let's see first, right? Let's see how this plays out when the season starts. But I was very pleased overall with the draft. A team that I felt personally, me myself, that came out one of the best drafts, and I hate to say it, because man, this team is just, people always want to constantly talk about them, but I gotta give shots out. I thought the Dallas Cowboys had an excellent draft. I thought that they hit some key pieces. I thought that a team that's been destitute for a very long time, the New York Jets, actually drafted properly for once. Very shocking. So Jeremiah Love going in the 3rd pick. I'm very interested to see how that's going to play out. With the Arizona Cardinals, it's gonna go two ways, right? Either he's gonna be electric and he's gonna look like exactly what Saquon Barkley looked like when he came out of college, or he's gonna be smothered because that team is so bad. But either way, I'm excited to see what happens with this kid. There is excitement. The funny part about it, one of the players I'm kind of least excited about seeing is Fernando Mendoza in Vegas. Like, I'm more excited to see what happens with Bailey, with the Jets. Like I said, with Jeremiah Love, Caleb Downs with the Cowboys. I'm really excited to see how these guys produce. Sonny Styles. I want to see how he turns out. He looks very interesting. He looks like a kid that can make some noise. And I believe that when he was drafted, they were making comparables of him to Brian Urlacher. So I'm gonna keep my eye on Sonny Styles.
Yeah, but there's a pair of draftees this year that I actually am going to be keeping an eye out, because I just thought that this was cool. This is something we have not seen in the draft in my lifetime, and if we have, I've missed it. And this is going all the way down to the 7th round, Marcus. And people may going, Andrew, why are you worried about the 7th round? Well, it's not really worried. Just something interesting happened. In the 7th round with the 10th pick, we had a Navy football player get drafted. Then 4 picks later, another Navy man goes off the board. That is something we have not seen in this draft, anything like that in a while. One thing I like when Navy or Army guys do get drafted, they'll show up in their dress uniforms. And for those who don't know, they're very sharp. And I cannot say his last name right, but the running back out of Navy, Eli. Oh God! Now I'm looking at his name and I'm afraid to pronounce it wrong.
Heidenreich.
Yeah, is actually from Pittsburgh and got drafted by Pittsburgh. You honestly saw it when he got drafted. It was a very emotional moment for him. When they come out of the tunnel, you see players slapping their team logos, and they have a camera where they go and put on the hat. The one thing he did I thought was very classy and a cool thing to do was he put his hat on, and for those that don't know, they have a camera facing them through a little window. And he just did a little salute as he was walking down the tunnel. But that's just something that hit social media right after he did it, and something I think when drafts rolls around for years to come, that's a clip that's going to resurface again and again and again. But you just saw the emotion out of him when he got drafted by his hometown team, because how often does that happen?
Very rare. It's very
Yes.
rare, and it's really cool when it can happen, and when you can see a player be able to be embraced by the city that he loved, and the city clearly is going to love him back. And you, like I say, hey, shout out, and hopefully there's nothing but success. I think every round is a potential way for any player to go out there and shine. I don't discard any player and say, oh, he was picked in the 5th round. Like, no, you were picked. You were
Yeah.
picked. That means that how many other football players did not get drafted? You got
Yes.
drafted for a reason. That means that you have a chance to go make a difference. Now there it does have to be determination and talent. The both have to come to fruition on the table, but you still have that opportunity and shot. And hats off to those 2 young men to be able to get that opportunity in the NFL after serving for their country and the Naval Armed Forces.
Yeah, and like I said, that's we don't see a lot of Army and Navy guys go in the draft because at that point they're more concerned with serving our country, which you got to give them props for, right? But it is nice when you do see a couple of those guys go in the draft because, yeah, they made a decision to serve their country, but they still love the game of football, and it's amazing to be able to play it at the professional level. Sorry.
Yeah, no problem. Brother.
Yeah, I mean, but this draft this year, and probably the last thing I want to talk about, the abundance, I don't think I've ever seen this before. The abundance of edge rushers that went early in this draft. Everybody was taking an edge off the board.
Yeah.
By the time we got to pick 20, I think there were 5 or 6 edges already off the board. That is something I have not seen in the draft in my lifetime. In my lifetime, drafts have been more offensive centric, and we even said it that this year's draft was going to be a more defensive draft. There wasn't a lot of offensive weapons that were going to go in this draft. Not saying that there weren't any, just not as many as you've seen in previous drafts.
Well, yeah. I mean, I'm looking at the breakdown right here. In the first round, edge players, there was 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 edge players that went in the first round. So at 32 teams that selected in the first round, and a couple teams had multiple picks. And those teams that had multiple picks all selected edge rushers. You still had 5 that went in the first round, and then in the second round, you had 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, another 6 again. So now that is 11 now edge rushers in the first 2 rounds that went off the board. So out of the first 64 players that were selected, 11 of those players were edge rushers. You are 100% correct. The edge rushers were going flying off the board very early. Now it slowed down in the 3rd round. So as deep as people say that the edge position was, it clearly really wasn't even across the entire NFL, because when the 3rd round hit, it only was 3 edge rushers that were drafted. Now, people thought that there was value in the later rounds because in the 4th, there would be another 4 edges selected. And then the 5th, only 2, the 6th, 1. And then in the 7th round, there was this late run on edges. So it doesn't surprise me that the Bears moved up in the draft to draft a defensive tackle, because in the 7th round, you had 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 edges go. Now that has to make you wonder,
Okay.
that these guys just some guys the team said we're going to take a flyer on because, hey, we're at the end of the draft, and if nothing else, let's just take a chance on the edge rusher. And I think that's to me, that's always a smart move. You can't go wrong. Okay, if the guy didn't work out, he was a 7th round draft pick. It didn't work out. If he does, you got now another bona fide pass rusher. So I never think that that's a bad move to grab and that definitely could explain why edge rushers got really, like I said, in the 6th round, it was literally only 1 selected. But then in the 7th round, you had this late run of edge rushers at that point. And so I think the teams at that point are at the end of the draft board and they're like, hey, if not, let's just draft an edge guy.
Yeah.
Like let's just you know what? We got a last pick. Let's draft an edge guy. So,
Well, yeah. And well, that was our segment on the NFL draft, Marcus. We're going to take a quick break because I think you and I need to get some water in our throats. We've been talking so much, but we love doing it. We're going to take a quick break. When we come back, we're going to talk about how the NBA playoffs have been going. Really, I was able to catch a little bit of Game 5 between the Lakers and Rockets, so we can talk about that a little bit. But we'll get into this more when we get back from break. Welcome back, everyone, to the Sports Mayhem Morning Show here on the Prime Coverage Sports Network. As always, I'm your lovely host, Andrew Mighty Man Scheid, and with me today is Marcus Mack, co-host of Unfiltered Sports here on Prime Coverage Sports Network. Also, co-host of mine for Truth About Chicago Sports for a local show on WRMN 1410 Fox Sports. Well, Marcus, before we went to break, we were kind of recapping the NFL draft and how that went. But now I want to switch sports and talk about the NBA playoffs because, I mean, a lot has been going on. We got some games currently in action as we speak. Game 5 against the Rockets and Lakers was fun to watch. Dare I say we're starting to see a little bit of the Lakers of old, not fully, just a little bit there. But yeah, lots going on. Obviously, LeBron James getting a chance to play with his son in a playoff atmosphere is awesome before he retires. But what are your thoughts on how the playoffs are going right now? Right now, you got the Knicks taking on the Hawks. They're in the third quarter with the Knicks demolishing the Hawks 95-38. Ooh. Okay, let's just unpack that one for a minute. That is not a team winning, Marcus. That is a team just steamrolling you. I mean, I don't know what's going on out there right now.
That's called you made me mad. And I'm gonna stomp you out because of it. Because remember, at one point the series was, I think, 1-2. The Atlanta Hawks had 2 wins and the Knicks had 1. And the Hawks were really putting a lot of pressure on the Knicks. And man, that changed. That changed fast. And let me tell you, wow. Boy, oh man, that's called getting served. And I mean, rightfully so, the Knicks are the better team. It just was nice to see that. To me, I just love the fact that Atlanta is pulling this out of the Knicks. Because if the Knicks really do want to try to make a run at the NBA championship, they need this. They needed a team to pull this out of them, to make them play at to understand if the only way you're going to win is you're going to have to play at your very best every night. And this is a statement. This is a statement to bring it to the Hawks like this.
Yeah, I mean, it is. The other game we got going on right now is in the second quarter. So you got the Celtics taking on the 76ers. That game is actually pretty even at a 28-27 lead for the 76ers right now. You also got another game coming up tonight between the Nuggets and Timberwolves. I mean, that series is just popping off there as well. You just got games all across the board. I mean, before we go any farther, I do want to play a highlight reel I put together from Game 5 against the Lakers and the Rockets. Just because, like I said, we're starting to see a little bit of Lakers of old in this playoff run in Los Angeles. So let's take a look at this highlight reel from Game 5 between the Lakers and the Rockets.
Is out, Smart at 3 is good. Ime Udoka going into that Game 4. Here is Eason nuzzling into Smart and second chance points. Here's Şengün twisting, taking, and hitting. Lob inside, knocked away. First turnover for Houston. James dishes Hachimura to the rim. To go in the first quarter of Game 5. LA the 3-1 series lead.
Tari Eason guarding LeBron James again in Game 5.
Smart again from 3.
I mean, Marcus, like I said, Lakers of old, you saw it in those last two clips. I mean, Hachimura going up for that dunk, Smart with a draining and absolute perfect 3 there. This Lakers team is something I did not see in the regular season. They've turned it to another level here in the playoffs, which you kind of have to do in professional sports to make it through the playoffs.
Yes, without a doubt. And this has been a much tighter series than I thought. But the Lakers are injured, and so is the Houston Rockets. And the Houston Rockets have fought and clawed to win 2 games. I don't think that they're going to win this year. I think the Lakers are going to close them out on May 1st, which is today, or May 1st on Friday.
Yep, today. That would be today.
So, I believe they're going to close them out. And it's still, I think the Lakers are going to be handled easily next series, but it's nice to see that them fight, and LeBron James, still at 41 years old, have that grit and fighting. But I mean, it's not the full Lakers team, and neither has it been for the Rockets. The Rockets are injured. Kevin Durant has, I think, played like 1, maybe 2 games. He's gonna be out again for this game. So I don't know. I don't think the Rockets are gonna have enough to overcome the Lakers. I believe, but like I said, we're gonna find the story will be told later today. And it's going to be interesting, but some people are saying 7 games. I don't think so. I think the Lakers are going to close it out.
Yeah, and I apologize to everyone. Those games are not taking place right now. They took place last night. My brain, it's morning to everyone. My brain I looked at the dates wrong. These were all last night. These were all last night. My brain is still, it's morning. I think I'm allowed to make one mistake in the show, and that's it.
This is mayhem, baby.
Yep.
You are allowed to create mayhem.
You know, this game against the Lakers and Rockets today, I think you're right. I think the Lakers are going to take it. Now, I have a question before I get to the Timberwolves game from last night. And one, just how the Timberwolves have been just having a great playoff run this year. It's been speculated, and there's been rumors flying around, because there's a film crew supposedly following LeBron James around throughout this season. Can we speculate that this could be LeBron James's final NBA season?
No, it will not. I've heard rumors from the inside. His inner circle has made statements that LeBron James is wholeheartedly planning on playing again next year. So I'd be very shocked if he retired. I think that this is just another move by LeBron. LeBron James is a businessman. He knows how to market at every level. And I think that he's smart enough to know that something like this is a story that could write itself after he retires. Camera crews follow LeBron James around with him and the Rockets at the age of 40. You know what I'm saying? These are the types of things that this guy is smart enough to know how to market on at the end of his career. And so it's probably something like that, but that I have heard from multiple sources that he has no plans of retiring this year whatsoever.
Right. Now, I want to ask you this because I don't think this is a question I asked you before. The Lakers, they're playing good. Now, LeBron James's son, do you think that, and I think I know the answer, do you think he's going to one day be at the level his father is at in terms of star power? Do you think he can be that type of player throughout his career?
No, he doesn't have. First off, he doesn't have the measurables, and he's not fast. So if you're not, today's NBA is all about big, long players, and his dad fits that mold. A big size man, long wingspan, can cover the floor very quickly. Bronny is a small guard. That's what he'd be considered. And so just off the bat, you being a small guard, that means for you to be truly effective, you have to have elite speed to be able to blow by people, to get to the rim and make plays. And Bronny doesn't have that. Bronny does have a pretty adequate jumper. He's worked on that quite well. He's proven that he does know how to run an offense, move around on the floor with the basketball. So he's going to be a really good role player. I think that he's going to become, I'm not going to say going to become, but I think he has the potential to become an excellent backup point guard in the NBA. He could definitely become a very good role player. I think he already is a role player. That doesn't mean that he can't become a star at being a role player. I mean, I always tell people that Dennis Rodman retired and is in the Hall of Fame, and he was the ultimate role player. So you don't have to be a guy that dominates the game by scoring a bunch of points, but that doesn't mean that you cannot have a job in the NBA for many years if you learn your role and you do it to the T. And I think that Bronny James has that potential and that ability to be an excellent role player and a great backup point guard in the NBA for many years.
Right. Now, there's two teams I want to ask you about to kind of round out this segment. One team we've kind of known since the regular season was going to be here at this time and was going to be playing good. The Oklahoma City Thunder. They just won their series. They didn't even give their opponent a chance to win one game. They swept them in 4 games. In my mind, OKC is kind of becoming the LA Dodgers of the NBA. They have just talent stretched out everywhere, and they're becoming an unbeatable team. And
Yeah.
do we see them making a strong run at the NBA Finals? Where do you see OKC's playoffs leading to? Do you see it leading to that NBA Finals? Do you see them getting knocked out late?
They're on a collision course, that's for sure, and that's going to be with the San Antonio Spurs, waiting to find out. Still getting late information on who's going to be between Nuggets and Timberwolves going against the Spurs in that series. But I think that the Thunder are going to handle, even if the Rockets were to come in and win it some kind of a way, they're not getting through the Thunder. The Thunder have built a secret dynasty, and they did it without having to go out and purchase players. They did it by simply drafting well and utilizing other people's ambitions against them. And they did some very smart trades, and the biggest trade they did and the smartest trade they did was trading Paul George away to get SGA, signed Gildrich Alexander, who has turned into a megastar for the team. Nobody could have predicted that. I don't even think even the Thunder, but once they got it, they've galvanized around it, and they still have a ton of assets to use, draft picks and capital. So that's going to make you very formidable when you don't have to go out and sign a bunch of top level, high priced free agents. And a lot of their key contributing members on their team are draft picks.
Right.
And so this team is going to be formidable for quite some time. But they're on a collision course with what I truly believe is the San Antonio Spurs. I think if the only team is going to have a shot to try to put them out is the San Antonio Spurs. And I think that in this playoff series, we might find out that the San Antonio Spurs are still too young and not ready.
Right. And, everyone's like, but San Antonio's got Wemby. Well, you can't win a playoff series with one guy, even if he is, probably one of the tallest guys I've seen in the NBA to date.
But remember the Thunder have a long guy as well named Chet Holmgren. A lot of people forget that Wemby's 7'4", some of rumored even 7'5", but Chet Holmgren's a legit 7'1", 7'2" himself. So it's not like Wemby's just going to be able to run around and do whatever he wants against the Thunder in the playoffs.
Yeah, I mean, that's the big thing is I think sometimes teams will get complacent in the regular season and be like, okay, we're winning right now because of this guy. We'll be okay in the playoffs. We don't need to get him any help, stuff like that. But that's not how that works because, like we said before, teams can just turn it up an extra notch if they end up making the playoffs. You don't know what teams are hiding going into the playoffs.
Well, you got to look at all of the stats. So, like, the San Antonio Spurs won the regular season matchup between the Timberwolves. But then we got to ask ourselves, between the Thunder.
The Thunder,
we got to ask ourselves, who was playing in those games? Because honestly, Scheid was injured for some time. Chet Holmgren did not play all 82 games. The second best player on their team, Jalen Williams, was injured and most of the season and did not play. So, were they at full strength when they took this team on? And so I think that once you break something down like that, you really gotta kind of ask yourself then, okay, did they get the best? And I don't think that they did. I don't think they got the best from OKC. And so, that winning record in the regular season could be misleading because now you're getting the best from OKC at this moment in the playoffs.
Right. Now, the other team I want to ask you about that's kind of, I don't want to say come out of nowhere, but have been playing really good in this playoff run is the Timberwolves. And one player I have to give some love to is former Chicago Bull Ayo Dosunmu, also a Chicago native. He's just been tearing it up in the playoffs. His numbers these past couple games to me have just been great. Not to say that he's putting this whole team on his back. I mean, this team is working well together and are doing a phenomenal job against the Nuggets, which is not an easy team to beat this year at all in Denver. I do not know your thoughts on how that series between the Timberwolves and Nuggets are going. I honestly think it's the Timberwolves series to lose there.
Well, the Timberwolves were up big at one point, but then you got to remember something key happened. And just on Monday night, the Nuggets came back and won the game and made it 3-2 of a series. And now what I see as a big potential is that the Nuggets are probably going to win the next game and push a game 7. I don't think a lot of people are going to realize that. And the reason why is because their top player, Anthony Edwards, is out, and he's probably not coming back for the rest of the series. It's not looking good for him to return. And I think that Ayo Dosunmu just had a moment. He had a game where he was able to come in a moment where the Nuggets were not expecting him to get that much time and minutes. Anthony Edwards went down, and he just exploded. He got hot. But as you see in the game, the net game that would follow, the Sumo only had 18 points. He was 7 of 14. And obviously the Nuggets made adjustments, were able to bottle him up, and then they just played their brand of basketball and were able to defeat the Timberwolves. And I just don't think the Timberwolves, unless they can get that type of performance again from the Sumo, and they're gonna need some big performances again from Rudy Gobert, as well as Julius Randle and Jaden McDaniels. I think that they might be the one. I think that they had the upper hand in this series at one point, but once Anthony Edwards went down, I think the Nuggets have it. I think the Nuggets know that they have it, and I think the Nuggets are responding accordingly. And I think that the Nuggets are going to overpower the Timberwolves and ultimately win this series.
I mean, you got good point. You got really good points there, actually. And I forgot about him going down. To everyone out there, I sometimes, Marcus, and you're the same way, we're juggling like 5 sports at a time. So,
Yes.
so we don't hit on everything. Sometimes stuff will fall out of our brains for a little bit. But yeah, I did forget that he went down. But I do think that the Timberwolves have a chance to take this series.
Oh, they have a great opportunity. They have a great opportunity.
Do I think with him going down now, it could possibly get stretched to a game 7? I mean, the Nuggets are going to have to do some work. I mean, if game 7 comes around, the Nuggets, both teams are going to have work, because if it gets to that point, each team has basically emptied the tank by game 7.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, so that's going to be interesting to see in itself if we reach a game 7 in that series. Now, I want to ask you about the 76ers and Celtics series. We talked about it a little on this show. Where do you see that series going? For those that don't know, I know basketball. It's not my number 1 sport. That's why when I do the NBA, I always like Marcus helping me out.
You got it, buddy. Anytime. This is a very interesting series, because the fact is that I thought Boston would handle this team quite easily, because of the simple fact of that that Philadelphia came in so shorthanded with Joel Embiid being injured, and Boston got out the gate with a hot start, but Philadelphia has proved to be quite pesky. It has made this a matchup, and Tyrese Maxey has really played his heart out. And you got to give shout out to the 76ers, because here's a team that many thought that this just be a tune-up for the Boston Celtics, and instead they're giving the Celtics quite a fight. And you gotta enjoy that. I think that's old school basketball. It's an old school rivalry, the Celtics and the 76ers, and I absolutely love it. I enjoy it. It's great basketball. You love to see series be pushed to the limit and getting the best out of players.
Yes. Now, I mean that's going to be a great series to see how it ends up. Because this is Sports Mayhem and we have a few minutes left, I want to ask you, Marcus, about how the WNBA draft went, and that season is officially underway. My one thing, it was not surprising when I was watching some highlights from the draft that the entire starting 5 for the UCLA Women's National Championship team went early in that draft. And that does not surprise me one bit at all. But it's also nice to see that the WNBA is coming back into the spotlight in ways as well.
Oh yeah, they had to go through labor situation. I was glad they were finally able to get that worked out, and now they've come, and they're in preseason at this current moment. First game will be actually May 8th, which should be next week. I think it's going to kick off on that Friday. You're going to have the Suns, Liberty, Mystics, Tempo, the new franchise there. That's the Toronto Tempo, the Valkyries, and then the Storm are going to play. So you're going to get the season kicked off, and it's going to be a good way to get introduced to some new players out there. I really like their showcasing one of the new franchises before, you have to go against some of the obviously more established elite stars in the WNBA in terms of Caitlin Clark, Paige Beckers, Angel Reese, AZ Fudd, who was just drafted. You alluded to her being drafted as #1 pick. Asia Wilson, who's the reigning MVP and I believe the highest paid player in the league, averaging now multi-million-dollar contract, well deserved. So this is going to be an exciting season, and I'm so glad you brought it up. I love talking WNBA. I love talking hoops, but I love talking WNBA in particular because I'm very proud of where this league has started to go, how it's finally started to get the steam and recognition and notoriety it deserves. And I'll be watching as many games as I possibly can find in our broadcast on TV.
Me too. And like you said, the WNBA already has established stars. The face of that whole league being Caitlin Clark right now. But like you alluded to, there are some new faces coming into the league. And I think a face that is going to be recognizable throughout the WNBA through her career will be Gabriela Jaquez. Why? Because in college, she started a very strong social media presence, and just winning the national championship on top of that has heightened her popularity. I definitely see her, even though she's on the shorter side, she's not tall. She is one of the few Mexican basketball players in the WNBA. And that's saying something, right? Because you think there to be a little more, but this is how it is. But I think that she's going to have a great career in the WNBA. She went #5 overall in the draft to our Chicago Sky, which I was not expecting. I didn't even know they had the #5 overall pick in the draft. I mean, but this, like you said, it's going to be a fun season. Now, I want to ask you before we go about the two faces that are kind of already known throughout the league, and that is Caitlin Clark and Angel Reese. Angel Reese obviously getting traded to the Atlanta Dream. Her jersey selling out within a day of that trade happening in Atlanta. Is it a good thing for the sport? And I'll say this. We know there's some, I don't want to say turmoil, but Angel Reese is not the biggest fan of Caitlin Clark, and that's kind of known. Is this a good thing for the WNBA?
Well, I think that it's different now, too. You got to understand and remember that when she was drafted to the Chicago Sky, the Fever and the Sky already had a rivalry. It was kind of like a match made true. It was kind of almost a la Magic Johnson and Larry Bird being drafted, where people got to understand that the Celtics and the Lakers were already rivals before those two were drafted. And so when these two elite players now went to these teams, it heightened the rivalry anymore, and it brought even more attention and more eyes. So I think that the fact that because Caitlin Clark was in Indiana and Angel Reese was in Chicago, remind you that they were literally just probably about 2 hours that separated each other. Fan bases were close enough to really be able to have venom towards one another, kind of like Green Bay and Green Bay Packers and Chicago Bears. Whenever you get a situation where the fan bases can really have a real opportunity to kind of go at one another on a real level, it makes a rivalry more. And so I think that because Angel Reese was with the Chicago Sky, that heightened things. But I think that now with her going to the Atlanta Dream, it's gonna be different. It's gonna be more probably about team play, less about rivalry anymore, because the Atlanta Dream is not, and the Indiana Fever are not rivals. And so I thought that it was a great story when she played with the Chicago Sky, and like I said, and with Caitlin Clark being with the Indiana Fever. But I just think the dynamics have changed now, and I think that we need to focus on newer storylines for the WNBA, which is what you want to make a sport grow. And I think that was a nice storyline when we had it, but now that storyline is done, and we need to look for new storylines to go with Caitlin Clark's journey as well as Angel Reese's journey, as they're both obviously two of the top stars, especially Caitlin Clark being the face of the league and Angel Reese being everywhere outside of the league, including Vogue magazine.
Right. And that's just something I wanted to touch on. The WNBA, these women do an amazing job at basketball. I mean, it astounds me what I can see them do. And I've seen WNBA players going up against NBA players, and they're just steamrolling all these NBA players because they're just that good at basketball. And it's amazing to see. It's amazing to see that a female sport is getting the kind of recognition, and that, women are able to continue in the professional level, because that's not something we get to see a lot of. And I think, in my opinion, I think that's wrong. I think there should be more female professional sports leagues than just the WNBA. And I think now we're going to have a professional softball league, but I think there needs to be more. That's just my opinion.
I agree. Shout out to you, brother Andrew.
Yep. I want to thank everyone for joining us today on this episode of Sports Mayhem. Wonderful Friday morning. Obviously, it's wonderful having you on, Marcus. And I can't wait to see, how this NFL season starts off and how the NBA playoffs end, because it's going to be fun. It's going to be fun to watch. And if you haven't, please check out our rest of our channel, Prime Coverage Sports Network, here on YouTube, Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. There's so many great shows on, and I can't even keep them all in my head. Marcus, do you want to rattle off a list of our shows? I know we got Unfiltered Sports on Monday night.
Unfiltered Sports on Monday night, Lockdown coverage. We've got Renegade Rundown. Then we've got the Casey schedule with his dad, the old man, OTST. That follows on Wednesday. Then Thursday night, I believe that. Also we've got Daniel also as well has got a show on Wednesday morning as well that you could check out. Thursday night, I believe that's the one night that actually might not be anything at this current moment. Then Friday right now is currently doing primetime hoops. And then we obviously got on Saturday Brandon Combs and Fitz and Combs show.
Yeah, I mean, we're really growing over here. Like, I can't wait for the football season, and we're going to be covering the Clutch City Eagles and one other football team coming up this fall. So that's going to be a fun thing to do as well, Marcus.
Yes,
I want to thank everyone for joining us here for this episode of Sports Mayhem on this wonderful Friday morning. I want to thank my co-host Marcus Mack for joining me on this lovely morning. Hope to see everyone soon. And like I said, if you can't catch this episode live, don't worry, because you can catch every episode on your own time here on the Prime Coverage Sports Network YouTube channel. Have a great day, everybody. Mighty Man, out.
Yeah, hey, drop.
Prime Coverage Sports Network. Real coverage, real conversation.